Hello, this is Stephen Island. Welcome to another edition of Captain Creepy's House of Shame. Today I thought I would answer questions that I've received on my webpage, on my Facebook page, called Shadows and Smoke Paranormal and Barbecue. So I have a series of questions that I have answered to them because I'm not going to be rude and ignore them, but I thought I'd also answer them on the podcast. So I want to start out with MS from Las Lunas. I won't use your whole name. It's a friend of mine, actually, who I know, said, what do you think about orbs? And I would say that, the orbs that you always see these pictures of, and 99.9% of them are dust. They might be lens flares. They might be bugs. And most of the ones I've ever seen, I could explain away too easily. One I've seen in particular of a guy I knew, took it in Old Town here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, like the old section of Albuquerque. And it was in a dark stairwell of this old house that now is a restaurant. And it's right there, like alongside the stairs in a very dark corner. And it's this blue with like a little trail. It almost looks like a spermatozoa or something. But it's blue and it's really well lit. And it just doesn't have the little concentric circles of dust or anything else. And I thought, wow, that was really amazing. Not easily explained. I actually went myself to that place to look at that area, and there's not a light sconce or anything else there. So to me, that seemed legit. Another question, PR from Durango, Colorado, asked me, what is your favorite haunted location? And honestly, I'd say my favorite one of all times that I've ever been to, I'm sure there are better ones, I guess, but it's the Whaley House in San Diego, California. It's in their old town, their version of Old Town, and it was a place where there was a famous execution of a guy named Yankee Jim. It took him 45 minutes to die. He was hung, or hanged, as the correct term is, and his feet kind of scraped the ground when they hung him up because they didn't measure. So it took him 45 minutes to basically strangle to death because he could kind of halfway stand up, and he finally just gave up. So supposedly he's one of the hauntings there. They built a house and a courthouse over it, and there was a famous judge named Whaley that lived in there. His daughter died in the backyard. There's all sorts of stories about the place. I've been there, taken pictures. It's now like owned by the Park Services or something like that. And I just got some really weird, creepy, like light anomalies, that kind of thing, and it just has this feeling like, man, this place is haunted. Another one is the New Amsterdam Theater in New York City. That's a really amazing, just creepy old building. It was built like right around the turn of the century, like 1902, 1903. A lot of stories about that. Of course, every theater has its own ghost, but this one in particular, you walk in and you feel like a chill. It's just an amazing vibe. So those are my two, I would say. AF from Albuquerque asked, why do goats supposedly hang out only in one place? And there's an old Hispanic wives' tale that says a lot of times if a ghost is hiding in a particular house or hanging out in a particular house, somebody's hidden money like in the walls. Like in New Mexico, we have a lot of adobe houses and all that. And you can literally like kind of dig into the wall, put stuff in there, put another adobe wall brick over it, and hide it. So somebody might have some money, and then they pass the house down to a relative or daughter or whatever, and they hang around the house trying to get attention, saying, "Hey, that's where the money is." So that's why they sometimes hang out. Other times it might be connected by tragedy, by love, by many things. So I think it's just something that one particular thing that keeps them there. AF from Albuquerque asked, that's AF Hardy. MP, excuse me, from Albuquerque said, isn't there a simple scientific explanation for paranormal activity? And I think a lot of them there is. And if you watch these shows and if you see some of the videos that people send me and all that, you say, well, that could be just somebody walking down the street, supposedly this ghost, but it's just somebody out of focus. Some of them, some of it nowadays, especially with CGI and how easy it is to manipulate video, a lot of it is just fraudulent. People just make fake videos up, and I always think that's a huge disservice, and I condemn people that do that. So, I think that for most things, there are simple and easy ways to explain it, or at least say, well, it could be this, and it's more likely this than a ghost, right? There are some things I've experienced, especially my experiences. I can say, well, okay, I experienced it, kind of used a scientific method, looked around. Nah, it's not this, it's not that, it's not that. So there are things that I've experienced I can only personally vouch for, saying I don't think so, because there are things that have happened that I will say are real. Another question. SD from Taos asked, why would ghosts haunt cemeteries? And I always feel that's a good question, because cemeteries are depressing places, you know. Now, maybe you're somehow stuck to your corpse, whatever there. Maybe just they hang out hoping a loved one will come by. Maybe they don't have any way of leaving. We don't know. It's one of those things. Oh, and my cat comes in. And that we can't explain, but I've been to cemeteries. I've gotten really interesting pictures there and all that. So apparently they must hang out, and I'm not sure why. Jay-Z from Tasuki asked, are adults safe from La Llorona? And I thought, when I first saw that, I thought that was kind of funny. But then I thought, well, what if La Llorona sees a little short woman who's very young, who's not a kid, and says, hey, I'm going to get her. I've never heard it. I've heard adults say they've heard the crying, but I've never heard of any adults that I know of that have actually had an experience other than maybe hearing it. But I thought that was an interesting question. Eno from Cuba, New Mexico, not Cuba, the country, but Cuba in the kind of northwest of Albuquerque, asked, are poltergeists the spirits of dead people or some sort of inhuman energy or energies? And I would say maybe both. Sometimes I think, like we're saying about the house that had the money in the walls, it could be just somebody trying to get attention. Poltergeist just means is German for noisy ghost. So maybe it's just trying to get attention, either saying, hey, I'm still here, you know, pray novena from here or whatever, or maybe they're just wild energies that are inhuman, that have never been in human form, but are just these weird, like, psychic energies. Of course, that's the other thing, too, is supposedly a lot of these poltergeist situations happen around a pubescent, especially female, that is just, the hormones are raging, so that kind of emanates in psychic energies. So it could be a number of things, but I'd say it's kind of all three, all of the above. Let's see, DM from Belen, which is south of here, asked, what is the best EVP you've ever recorded? That's a great question, because I got one that really affected my beliefs about the paranormal. We're up in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and my friends Ginger and Candace, it was in Candace's room where we're staying in the hotel there. It's the Plaza Hotel, really great old 1880s hotel that's haunted. And we're doing a little EVP session. We get this very clear voice of this man. I'm the only guy in the room. And it's this guy's voice, and he said, I need to go to church. And that really freaked me out, because why would a dead person say that? Is this like a residual thing saying that they had regrets in life? What is that? I thought that was really interesting, and it really made me wonder about the whole thing about, are these voices we catch on EVP, are they even dead people? Are they psychic emanations from somebody else? Another one we were in a house, there was a child that had all his toys were turning on, all these other things. So we were investigating their house. So we set up a voice recorder in one room, closed the door. All of us were staying quiet. Later on, my friend Jim, who did the recording, he calls me up and he says, hey, check out your email. So I check it out, and he had sent me a WAV file. So I listened to it. There's a little girl singing Frère Jacques in that room. Nobody there, nobody on the outside. The windows were closed, everything else, and you could distinctly hear her singing that. Well, there were no children in that house that were female, but it's a distinctly female voice, and it was the creepiest thing I think I've ever heard, hearing a little girl singing Frère Jacques. So those are the two, number one, number two EVPs I would say I've listened to. Finally, from HP from Albuquerque asked, have you ever been to a place that was allegedly haunted and you were sure it wasn't? Well, excuse me, sorry. I'm dealing with allergies. One of the, I don't think you can ever judge that, because, you know, it's not like an every night occurrence, not like a switch you can turn on and off. You go at a place, sometimes it's active, sometimes it's not. So it's hard to really judge that. Maybe if you stayed there for a year and nothing happens, you could start to say, well, I don't know about this place. But otherwise, So I would say you can't judge it by one evening's. It's not like Ghostbusters or Ghost Adventures or any of these shows, because it's just you just wonder. Well, maybe it didn't happen tonight, but maybe it happened last time. There are places though where I think they hype up things way out of control. There's a St. James Hotel up in Cimarron. They have a room that they lock up. They don't let anybody in there because they said the ghost is so violent and all that he might attack you. Well, I think they're losing out on money renting out the room. But however, that intrigue of people, because every time I've gone up there, people are hanging out in front of there and all that and checking out the door and all that, and they have a big padlock on there. So I think there's a lot of hype. So let's say I believe that people hype up stories of the paranormal rather than completely. I'm sure there are frauds out there, but I think most of it, something may have happened and they kind of exaggerate it a bit. So those are the questions. And if you want to ask me more questions, look up my page on Facebook, Shadows and Smoke, Paranormal and Barbecue. You can just type it in and it'll show it. You can also always add comments below. I will gladly answer any of your questions. Just leave it in form of a question. Just give your initials and where you're from, and I will gladly answer them. And thank you very much. Good night and good hunting. Thank you.